So today I ran across the cutest little project because, hey, who doesn't read books these days? This is what it's going to look like when we're done. And it is, I made one with lace because, hey, why not? It's a bookmark. So if you don't have to really follow along, you could just write things down. But if you forget any of the steps or miss anything that I say, feel free just to give us a call and we'll have that information for you. So you want to start for each bookmark, you want to start with two 4.5-inch squares of fabric for your backing. And on those, we're going to have one 4.5-inch square of interfacing, fusible interfacing, just whatever you happen to have. And then for our triangular corner piece, you need one 4.5-inch square of contrasting fabric. And wouldn't it be fun? That's why I'm doing this one for kids to help encourage them to read. And then we're going to have a triangle piece, again cut from a 4.5-inch square of your interfacing. So I'm actually going to do two at the same time because, hey, why not? So the first thing you want to do is fuse that interfacing to the wrong side of your fabric. Cone is great because, hey, it doesn't have a wrong side. There we go. And this one, line that up. These clover irons, I use mine in my sewing room almost exclusively. Like, I don't worry about the big iron until the quilt is done. They are great because you can stitch and press and stitch and press. There we go. So we've got that fused. And our triangular piece here, where we've got the triangle, our contrast fabric, we're just going to fold that in half and give that a good little press. Let's do this one. This is so pretty. There we go. Okay. Now the hard part, from inside out. So we're going to take our interfaced piece right side up. We're going to take our triangle and set that in the corner, just like that, right side up. Set this guy like this. And then we're going to take our third piece, our second square, and lay that over there. And I like to put a bit of a pin in the corners. I like to sew really narrow seams, so if it's pinned together, I don't have to worry quite so much about that underneath part moving or shifting. There we go. So this one is ready to sew. Now I want to sew all the way around it, but I want to leave a space for turning it. So I want to make sure I stitch on the machine, I stitch all the corners. And what I'm going to be sewing on, just so that you have some idea that you don't need a big fancy sewing machine, although we all need a big fancy sewing machine. This is our little brother NS80. It is a phenomenal price right now. A basic sewing machine, something you could pick up to try and encourage a grandchild to sew with you. There's my triangle. You can kind of see it through there. And I'm going to start about there. Try really hard not to knock there. Lower my presser foot, take my shoe off, because we don't sew with shoes on. And we're just going to use a straight stitch. Pull that pin. right down. And I'm going to aim for about 1/4 of an inch seam. Now, needle down, lifting your presser foot so that you can rotate the fabric. And we're going to go up to the next corner. And as we get close, pull that other pin. And as we get really close, you should practice with your machine until you can take one stitch with that foot pedal. Lift that, rotate. Pull it in. And this is where I like to make sure I come down to the 4th corner here. And more. I want to make sure I stitch a little bit around that corner. The back tag to secure it. And I'm looking, it's not perfectly straight. I just want to make sure that I've caught all the edges. Looks pretty good. Raise my needle, raise my presser foot, and pull that out. Okay, so we are stitched. Now, what you want to do, make sure you're going to trim those corners. It's just going to give you a little bit better precision in your corners. There we go. Dust those on the floor for the cleaning person. And I'm going to, so now we're going to turn that right side out. And we sort of stuff it through. And I like to use just whatever's to hand. An old knitting needle. My favorite turning thing for the large items is an old chopstick. Simply because it's not slippery. I also have a proper point turner. And we carry those here if you want to get really good sharp points. So give it a little push right out to that corner. And then this one's important here. We're going to give that a little push out there. Get our corners nice. Get our threads pulled in. There. Then, by tucking that little opening, tucking the edges, our threads out. Oops. There we go. So in. Now I happen to be using contrasting thread here so that it's a little easier for you folks to see. If I was doing these at home, I might use orange thread. Give it a good press. Flatten it down. There we go. I don't like this one sticking out. And then back under the sewing machine. I'm going to start here in this corner. Start about there because that's the open side. And we're just going to do a top stitching around the edge. These brother machines, I sew on a brother at home. And I really like the fact, can you see the bobbin there? That's so easy to change the bobbin on these machines. There we go. One more corner. A little bit of back tacking. Heat it up. And there's one done. How's that for a way to encourage a youngster to read? That you could have a whole collection of these guys. You could have a cute one for kids' books. You could have, where did I put it? Oh, it's in the book? I don't know. I had a lacy one. It's disappeared. That's okay. You could have a lacy one for your romance novels. You could have a gothic one for your Stephen King. And it just slips over the page like that. There you go. It's just the cutest, quickest little project. And I think it's something that you could easily encourage a beginning sewer to practice on. Let's make another one. Got a snip. Let's see how this one turned out. When I try new projects, I will quite often do more than one, and then I will ask myself, well, that's pretty good, but what would happen if? Now here you can see, I kind of got a little close to the edge here, but that's not a big problem. We're just going to go back in. Because these things are flat, we're just going to adjust that seam a little bit. Right like that. So as I had here, I asked myself, what would happen if, instead of that triangular piece of fabric, I put a piece of lace across the corner? What would happen if, instead of a 4.5-inch square, my backing fabric was rectangular and actually extended down further into the page? Maybe you like to read really hefty, chunky books, and you don't find that the 4.5 inches is sufficient to stay well within the pages. What would happen if you took the time before you laid things together and embroidered your name or your child's name across there? Then maybe more than one person could be reading the same book at the same time. There we go. There's another one. We're just going to give that a little press it down. Maybe some flat. Oh, I missed that. Okay. There we are. Lower that. And around we go. I have to admit, it's an interesting experience sewing standing up like this. There we are. And that's how fast you can come up with a quick little project like that. There we go. Yeah, that's our project for today. So thanks for joining us. Stay safe, stay calm, Stay kind. Thanks, everyone. Bye.